Welcome to this week's episode of The Savvy Author. My name is Clara Rose. I'm the creator of the Be Savvy brand, and I am your host today. If you've not been with us before on The Savvy Author Show, let me be the first to welcome you and invite you to come back every week as we talk about all of the things necessary for you to be a savvy author. We even bring in some authors who have just had their book come out, whether they're my authors or they're somebody else's authors, so that we can help them celebrate the launch of their book. Crafting their message and getting it out into the world, we want to celebrate with them. So sometimes they'll be here. Of course, if you have been with us before, welcome back, my friend. Today we're going to talk about a topic that I've never talked about before, and that is business first or book first. So you might be saying, what in the heck does that mean? What comes first, the business or the book? Or does it really even matter? So let's talk about the differences and consider it from a creative perspective. So many of my clients, as you may or may not know, are business owners who want to create a book that they're going to use as a tool to organically generate leads for their business, ministry, cause, brand, whatever it is they're doing. So they already have a thing that they do, mostly businesses, and then we're together creating a book that they're going to use to help expand their influence, get more leads, get more customers. Really, it's about creating sustainability in their business, right? We all need sustainable businesses if we're going to survive in this world. And writing your book, that's the quickest way to get some authority, create some sustainability. So since I'm working with those people primarily, my first gut instinct might be to say, well, business, ministry, cause, brand, whatever you got going on comes first, and then the book comes later. But in truth, there's more than one way to go about that, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. Maybe you don't yet have a business, ministry, cause, or brand, but you have an idea for a book that would lead to a business or a brand. So let's talk about that. Let's hop in and talk about business or book first. Here's a question I want to ask you very first. Do you have a business, ministry, cause, or brand already? Remember that your book is just a tool, and what you intend to do with your book is what really matters. So that's an easy question. Do you already have something going on? That makes you my ideal client to work with if you already have a business. Now, what about if you are in business and you haven't considered a book? Let's talk about that. Think for a minute about what value a book could bring to your existing endeavors. Now, I'm always saying business, ministry, cause, or brand because it doesn't have to be a traditional business. Of course, it could be a nonprofit, but it could be a cause that you are passionate about. I've written several books with clients around their cause, their passion, their something that they love, something that matters to them. And then, of course, a brand, you don't have to be a business owner to have your own brand. Some people create a brand around them personally. Some people create a brand around a cause or an item. Always fun to work with somebody who's just a brand because you build it a little bit differently. But if you could find value in it, it makes sense for you to have a book. Okay. And then lastly, I want to ask you, are you ready to put in the time and the resources to create a book? If you already have a business, or you already have a brand or a cause, or you're in a ministry, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to put in the time commitment and the resources to create a book? Now, you might say, Clara, how much time and how much is it going to cost me to put a book out into the world? Well, I like to tell people that creating a book is kind of like having a baby, right? It takes 9 months to create a baby and birth a baby, right? It takes approximately, on average, 9 months to get your message out to the world, from idea about your book to actually launching your book. Now, that's an average. We've had people go through the process in like 6 months. If you've already got a head start on it and you already have a manuscript mostly written, it's going to be 4 to 6 months. It's going to be quicker than that, but from idea to publish on average is about 9 months. Now, if you are a super busy individual, it may take you longer. If you can only carve out a little bit of time each week, or a little bit of time every other week, we could be working on your book project for a year, or I think the longest that I worked on a project was 2 years. And that's okay. Right? As long as you don't have some specific thing, that specific event or time frame that you absolutely have to publish by, you publish when the book is ready, when it's good, when it's the tool that you want it to be, then you publish. So, but just on average, that's what you're looking at. Now, there are people out in the world who are going to be willing to help you build a book on the cheap. So that's the other side of it. There's always somebody who's will do it for cheap. Just be sure of what you're getting when you get the cheap. So just as a ballpark figure, you should be spending between $5,000 and $15,000. I know that's a huge ballpark figure for someone to help you from idea to publish. That's what's going to cost you out in the world. If you're going to have it ghost written for you, that means you're not going to actually be the writer. The content's going to still come from your head, but you're not going to actually be the person putting words on paper. Ghostwriting is more expensive. You can probably expect to spend between $15,000 and $25,000 to have somebody ghostwrite for you. Okay, I just wanted to throw that in there because I get that question so often from business owners or ministry owners or professionals who have a cause or a brand that they're working towards. So just a little bit of free information for you today. All right, let's move on. Do you have an idea for a book or a partially finished book, but it's not connected to a business? Now, this is the flip side of, business or book first. It wasn't until a few years ago that I actually started seeing a trend in my business, people wanting to write a book and then create a business or a cause or a brand around their book. So this is a different take on it, but certainly super fun for me as the creative type, and completely doable if you're one of those people. Hey, I have an idea, I don't know where to go with it, but I think this could become something more. So that is also a great project for someone like me. A literary consultant or any literary consultant would be happy to take on a client who says, hey, here's my concept or my idea for my book, and by the way, I'd like to build an entire business around that. What does that look like for you? It's kind of the flip of what most people are doing. What does that look like? So let's pretend for a moment that this book right here, this is my last published book. I co-published with a lovely lady in the UK, Debbie Clement Large. So 8 ways to mind your own business. So this is strategy and mindset for the new entrepreneur. So while we didn't create this book to build a business around it, we created this book as a tool for our very own clients who are just starting their journey as business owners. She talks about mindset and I talk about strategies, right? How to start a business, the basics that you need. We talk logos and branding and some of those things that if you've never owned a business, you may have no clue what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you try to get in business for the first time and you think, oh, okay, I totally need someone to help me. So we wrote this book for that purpose. But we could have written this book as a way to build a business around it. So knowing that this was for entrepreneurs, brand new entrepreneurs, to work on their mindset, because when you're starting a business for the first time, that's a piece, getting your head right, getting your mind right, and then strategies, the how-tos, the nuts and bolts, if you will, of starting a business and getting it off of the ground, stuff that you don't know that you don't know. So we could have taken this book and then designed a business around it, perhaps a coaching business for those who want to start their own business for the first time but had no idea where to go with it. Of course, we would be teaching them the value of a book because we're both writers and understand the value of a book in growing your business. So we would have built a coaching program, perhaps a course around it, perhaps a cause, wanting to help new entrepreneurs get started after the country shuts down for a pandemic. I mean, who knows what business idea we could have come up with, but I just wanted to share that as an example of how you could take a book that you create first and then create a business around it. So if you're an author already, you have a book out there, but you don't have a business, you don't have a ministry, you don't have a cause or a brand, you just have a book and you're thinking, I would like to take this and create something else out of it, absolutely the book can come first and the business or the brand can come second. And what if you have that idea and you don't have a business, you don't have a book, you don't have anything but an idea? Is that going to work? Absolutely, that's going to work. What if you created them at the same time? Right, what if you created your book and you created your business together? Now, here's the great thing about that is as you create the business structure, you are creating the logo, you're creating the colors, you're creating the brand, and you're creating a book that is so closely tied to your brand, there's gold in that, right? So if we had decided that this was also going to be a business at the same time, we might have used this as part of our logo, right? It says what the book does, because a cover is supposed to promise what the book's going to be about, right? We wanted the mindset idea to be in there. So we might use something like that as part of our logo. Or, the 8 ways might have been part of our logo. Who knows how we would have tied it together. But that's the point. When you build them together, branding becomes super easy. Your marketing message becomes super easy. So in truth, you don't have to necessarily have a business first. And you don't necessarily have to have a book first. You could actually build them at the same time. Really depends on what you would like to do and where you are currently in your current situation. So that's really kind of the long version of chicken or the egg, right? The book or the business, which one comes first? It's really just about where you're at, what you'd like to create, and then finding someone to help you through that creative process. Now, it's just like anything else. If you are brand new to business, you're a brand new entrepreneur, and you came to me, this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with understanding business basics and do some strategy. What would you like to create? One of my brand new clients I'm super excited to be working with, can't tell you what we're doing, but it's super exciting to build out her idea for her book. And this happens more often than you might think. She contacted me about the book first. And then as we talked, and she hired me, yes, let's do this book, she said, that would be great if we could do X as well. And I said, well, have you considered creating a business out of it, creating a brand around this? And it was super exciting for us together to create this new brand. And we're going to be doing some really unique, fun stuff. We're creating a subscription box for her all around this book idea, which is going to be a part of it, of course. And so you can see how one little thing could lead to something much bigger. Maybe not even intentionally you're going to become, more than just an author. So be open to the idea that it could be more. If you are entrepreneurial by nature, or if you are courageous enough, brave enough to take that first step and say, okay, yeah, if I had some guidance and I have some help, I could create a business or ministry or a cause or a brand around a book idea that I have, and we could do it together, and I'd love to help you. Okay, I want to talk before we go today, before we run totally out of time, about the 3 phases of book creation. Now, it's a little bit off the topic today, but I get so many questions. I just want to run through these today with you. So, brainstorm and blueprint. That's absolutely the very first phase of your book project. First, we're going to analyze, because it's about creating the right book, right? Getting out in the marketplace and looking and seeing, does your book idea have merit, right? As you look at other books that are similar, there's a ton of other business books out there to help people, right, start a business. So how is your book going to stand out? We were really unique in the way we put this out there, is that we combined strategy with mindset. There's a lot of mindset books, a lot of strategy books, but we combine them together. So it's important to analyze what's out there and decide how yours is going to stand out, be different, be unique, so that you have good sales in the marketplace. Okay? So after we've analyzed and decided what we're going to do, we're going to move on to the brainstorm. And we're going to capture all of the ideas that you have about your book and get them out of your head. If you've been contemplating a book for a long time, you likely have a bunch of stuff hanging out in your head, or a pile of sticky notes, or a pile of notebooks, or post-it cards, or you've likely captured them somewhere. I have several notes on my phone for book ideas that I've had, and slowly over time I flesh them out until they become substantial enough in the brainstorm department that I'm ready to blueprint them, which is the next stage. After we've got all that stuff collected out of our heads, now we blueprint it. So we create an outline that becomes the structure of your book. Now, I talk about brainstorm and blueprint a lot because this is really the foundational piece for your book. Whether you have a business that you're creating a book for, or you are doing it the opposite way, either way, it's about having a good foundation that you can follow as you write your book, as you go through the creative process. If you do not have a solid foundation, you will get writer's block. You will write yourself into a corner. You will sit down at your computer and think, what haven't I told them, right? What haven't I said? Or maybe you're sitting down with a tablet and handwriting. Crazy, but some people still prefer to create in that way. And if that's you, bless you. I think it's do it the hard way, but whatever works for you creatively. That blueprint is going to keep you on track. And I promise you, if you skip phase 1 and just jump in and write your book, you will, along the way, find many hiccups, many hurdles, and in fact, you may be one of those people who reach out to me and say, Clara, I've been writing my book for 10 years, I think I need some help. Right? It's likely they didn't have a firm foundation. Okay, that's phase 1. Let's look at phase 2. This is the create and refine stage of your book. First of all, getting your hiney in the seat and putting words on paper. It sounds silly, I realize, but if you don't actually sit down and do the work, your book will never be done. It is more work than people realize, putting a book together. And having regular time to sit down and get words on paper is critical. It's crucial to actually getting your book project done. So that's create, right? And then we need to refine. So here's where I'm talking about editing. Everyone needs an editor. I have an editor. Every piece of work that I do, another set of eyeballs sees it, because in truth, you think you wrote something, but you may not have actually written that. And when I read it, I read what I think I wrote. And that's true for all of us. So everyone needs an editor. We'll talk through the editing process often because it's so important. As a matter of fact, many big names have multiple, dozens of editors that look at their work before it ever hits publish. Interesting, isn't that? But it's part of the refining process. It's got to make sense. It's got to be well edited, good sentence structure, and then, of course, voice authenticity, hard to say, super important, staying true to the voice of you as the author. And then, of course, formatting. Formatting is getting it ready to actually publish. And formatting is one of the most important pieces that I see go awry in the self-publishing world. People who write a book and then think, I'm just going to, hop on BookBaby or KDP or wherever and self-publish this, it's one of the things that are often wrong. They don't have it professionally formatted, and when you get the book and look at it, it's wonky. Things aren't where they ought to be. Chapters don't start in the right places. Margins look funky. Some people don't justify their text. There's a whole range of things that just look odd and unprofessional, but because they didn't have it professionally formatted, they don't know, right? It will ultimately affect the sales of your book because when people look at it, they think, something's not right here. They might not know what, but they're going to recognize that something's not right. And then, of course, finally, the third phase of creation of your book project is the publish and promote phase. So publishing really is all about understanding what your options are these days because there are so many options. You could self-publish. If you can navigate those waters, figure out how to use their systems, and publish on your own and avoid some of the huge pitfalls, like not owning your own ISBN, hint, hint. Avoid some of those things, get it done correctly, you can self-publish. And then, of course, the traditional publishing route, which is what so many people aspire to, is all about finding an agent that will act as that in-between between you and a publishing house and get you a decent contract. Of course, here's where the royalties for you become very small because the publishing house takes the first bite, your agent takes the next bite, and then, of course, you get the royalties or the least amount from that arrangement. So based on sales, totally depends on how much money you make. And then, of course, nowadays, traditional publishers aren't taking on new authors in general who don't have a significant social media following because there's not as many dollars in the coffer these days to promote their authors. And so they count on the authors to participate in the promotion piece. So if they can contract with somebody who has, 500,000 or 1 million followers, that book is going to be successful by default almost, right? Because the followers are already there. So that's a good bet for a traditional publisher because you're doing such a big piece of the work for them. And then, of course, let's talk promotion. This is an important piece of getting your book out to the world. This is where we let the world know that we are there. And there are several key things that you need to do to promote your book effectively. If you've not talked about press releases, you've not talked about the places where you're going to show off your book, you've not talked about a book launch, some of those pieces, super important to successfully launching your message out into the world. And then, of course, we need to sell, right? We write books because we want to sell books so we can get our message out to the world. You need a plan for ongoing sales because they are not just going to happen for you automatically, my friend. You need a plan in place, and so that's an important piece of that final phase of book creation. Okay, we are almost out of time today, so I want to really quickly say to you, if you feel like you need some guidance, you need a little more help getting through one of those phases, the Savvy Author Mentoring Program might be for you. Currently, it is closed, but you can hop on the waiting list for notifications when the doors are going to open again in the fall by going to clararose.com/waitlist. You can just drop your name on that list. I promise not to spam you and send you a bunch of stuff. I will just let you know when the class is getting ready to open. Classes are fairly small and they fill quickly, so it's super important if you want to be in the fall class that you get on the waiting list, because if it fills up, then I won't ever actually promote it to the world because the waiting list will have filled it. So, all right, what are you going to get if you are a member of the Savvy Author Mentoring Program? The Brainstorm and Blueprint, which was phase 1. Remember we talked about that. We're going to have writing and accountability. That's going to help you get your hiney in the seat, get the writing done, hold you accountable to actually produce the book that you've said you're going to produce. Editing and formatting is built right into the program. I'm going to teach you all the things that you need to know, and then, of course, if you need additional editing services, those are available as well. And then publishing and launching, that final piece that is so important to getting your message to the world. We will walk through those pieces together so you understand your options and what it means for you at each level, and then promoting and selling. Having a plan in place, we're going to talk strategy, we're going to give you examples of strategy, and we're going to help you through the process of being ready to publish your book. Get it out into the world and actually make sales so your message can make a difference in the world around you. Okay, I'm not going to have time to go through all of this, but just really quickly want to give you an overview. The Savvy Author Mentoring Program is the first of its kind that gives you a full blueprint for creating a successful book, plus education and accountability to actually get the work done. As a seasoned literary consultant and editor, I'm going to guide you every step of the way. So there's no more wondering where to start or writing yourself into a corner or having a half-finished manuscript that you have no idea how to finish. Can't tell you how many times I hear that story. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stuck on chapter 6. Whatever that looks like. Then, of course, the blueprint that we create together in this membership program is going to help you write your book in a way that your customers, your potential reader, is going to follow it and is going to engage with your work, and that's what we really need. You don't get people reading your book, it's not going to make a difference. Your message is not going to get out into the world. So, no matter where you are in your journey, because writing a book is definitely a journey, the Savvy Author Mentoring Program can help you to plan and write and publish and launch your book. Whatever help it is that you need, I have something that can help you with that. If you would like to get more information, hop on the waiting list, or you can always reach out to me at hello@clararose.com. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, or if you have a project you'd like to get started, I'm happy to hop on a Zoom call with you as well and tell you how we could work together if you're interested. And that's it for this week, my friends. Thank you for joining me once again. I hope that you stop and take a moment to consider, do I have a business that I could use a book for, that I could organically generate leads for my followers, my business, ministry, my cause, my brand? If that's you, I'd love to chat with you about getting your book started. If that's not you and you have an idea for a book, I'd love to chat with you as well. I appreciate that you show up here every week and learn from me. I would love to hear from you. Hop on over to my webpage, hop on over to my social media, say hello, say, hey Clara, I saw your last episode. I'd love to connect with you over there as well. All right, so we are out of time today, but I just wanted to say come back again next week and we'll talk more about being a savvy author. Have a great week, my friends.